Last month was exhausting. I was on a huge art house binge, and whilst it was incredible to experience all these films I hadn't had a chance to see before, I needed something a bit different this month. However, I did start off with Iraqi and a devastating documentary.
I take my camera with me wherever I go, trying to find my soulmate.
I've sort of gone backwards with the Teen Apocalypse trilogy as I watched Nowhere followed by The Doom Generation, my favourite of the two being Nowhere. And it was obviously really good. It's a bold story that's really not for everyone, and as I mentioned in the last video, check out Does the Dog Die to find out if this film is for you, but it's great. There's a nice mix of incredibly entertaining scenes paired with some completely horrifying ones. Talking about horrifying scenes, Dear Zachary is full of them. Now, I've known about this film for a while and never really had an interest in watching it, but after being recommended it on YouTube, I couldn't avoid it any longer and I had to give it a watch. And as I'm sure you know, it's an incredibly hard documentary to sit through. There are no words to describe the feeling that you have at the end, and it's just so emotionally exhausting, but it's one that everyone should watch. After that, I needed a bit of a change, and it was a Tom Cruise binge. To start it off, it had to be Top Gun, and it was everything I needed, with classic 80s action, a brilliant cast, an incredible soundtrack, and it's really just everything you could want on a Sunday night, or for me, it was a Wednesday morning. So I watched all of the Mission Impossible films last month, well, apart from one which I'd seen a few months ago, but I think this was my favourite. I mean, I really enjoyed Rogue Nation, but Fallout just had everything from the previous films and more. To start, we have Tom Cruise and an insane stunt. I mean, he is without a doubt the craziest actor alive, and he definitely brings his A-game to these films. The story in this, whilst easy enough to follow, is executed perfectly. It's engaging from the very first minute, the major action doesn't stop just with the halo jump, and all of the characters are engaging to watch. I also have to mention the cinematography of the halo jump. I mean, the guy literally jumped out of a plane with an IMAX camera strapped to his head. I will also say that the masks were a bit extra for me though, and that's talking about the entire series.
Boy! Come up here.
The dragon is hungry.
Where do you even begin with a film like Doubt? I know, the cast. Meryl Streep, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams and Viola Davis. I mean, how do you get better than that? Their performances were incredibly strong and raw, and it simply wouldn't be the same film without any one of them. Looking at the story though, it's another really tough watch, and one that leaves you at a loss for words. It's also one that I urge everyone to watch. Again, I need to talk about the cinematography, as throughout I kept thinking about the lighting, as it just felt so natural and helped create a feeling in the story that words couldn't. So who else could it have been than Roger Deakins?
Okay, buddy.
It's taken me way too long to get around to Swiss Army Man. I mean, with a cast like this and a story bizarre enough to make you think you were going crazy, it should have been so much higher on my list. But like every film in this video, I loved it. Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe have weirdly good chemistry, the story is incredibly entertaining, and the score is easily the most memorable one from the past month.
I will ask you simple questions. You will answer in short sentences only what you believe to be absolute truth.
Absolute truth.
Guillermo del Toro has yet again blown me away with Nightmare Alley. But before I start talking about it, I just want to mention that I watched the A Vision in Darkness and Light version, which is the black and white form. And it was incredible. Everything from the story to the acting to the score was simply perfect. It was an interesting story to see from Del Toro though. I mean, looking at his other films, pretty much all of them feature a monster of some sort, but I really welcome this kind of crime drama from him. To mention the cast, I can't imagine anyone other than Bradley Cooper as Stan, as to no surprise, he absolutely kills it, as does Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara and of course, Willem Dafoe. And to look at the cinematography, I truly can't imagine it in colour. And I know I'll get around to the colour version one day, but for me this will always be a black and white film. The blacks are just so deep, the whites are just so bright, and if it weren't for the A-list cast, it would feel like a 40s noir, which it does, but it would feel like it was from the actual 40s, like 80 years ago 40s.
Hey, that's enough static out of you.
Yet another film it's taken me way too long to watch. Rebel Without a Cause is everything I wanted it to be. I wanted to be transported back to the 50s, and that's what happened. We have that coming of age story that everyone loves, the cinemascope is beautiful to watch, a score that ties everything together, and James Dean. I really should have watched this after The Disaster Artist though, because that would have made a really great but weird double feature.
Bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Hello? Is everything okay?
I've been excited about I Want You Back since first hearing about it. I mean, Charlie Day alone is enough to make me want to watch it, but pair him with Jenny Slate and you have a goldmine on your hands. For me at least, this was an incredibly fun watch, but it's also a really easy watch. We have a story that is easy enough to understand, the cinematography doesn't try and do anything crazy and just serves the story, and the cast is exactly who we want to see after the past couple of years. It's also always welcome to see a Pete Davidson cameo.
Knock, knock, motherfucker!
Mi sembrava di avere le idee così chiare. Volevo fare un film onesto, senza bugie di nessun genere.
I recently had a flight and it was almost the exact length of 8.5. And seeing as though I somehow hadn't seen it yet, I had no choice but to give it a watch. And it was incredible. I could not take my eyes off the screen, even when there was a bout of turbulence. The story is one that, as a filmmaker of sorts, I can relate to a bit more, even though I don't sit in the director's chair. The acting is superb, the score is beautiful, and the cinematography is mesmerising. I mean, we all know that famous shot of the man tied to the beach, but even past that, the silhouettes alone just left me in awe. I know I say this a lot, but it's easily one of my favourite films of all time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, you know what to do if you did. If you have a recommendation for an analysis, leave it down below. Thank you so much for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time. Bye. I'll just quickly add that I watched The Batman this evening, and it was incredible.